Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is SockBot, and today I want to talk about the All Hallows Dreams event. This is an event that Media Molecule has just started recently, and it's not like a lot of the other Dreams challenges that actually exist within Dreams. This one instead takes place online. So basically, the rules around the event, which I'll describe more in depth in a little bit, have you making a room for a haunted house that they're going to then string all together, assumedly, for people to kind of walk through and enjoy as the Halloween month approaches. Now, the deadline for this I will put right here on screen, so if you are interested in this sort of event, make sure you submit your room by then, and make sure you follow all the rules, which I'm not going to talk about every one of them today, but I'll at least go through the ones that I ran into issues with that I sort of found challenging. But we'll also talk a little bit about the event, my thoughts on it, and whether or not I think that people will enjoy this event for a good challenge, or just for something to do within Dreams if you're looking for a creation prompt. But if you do enjoy this sort of video, feel free to leave a like down below and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more. I do post a lot about different Dreams events and different stuff I'm creating within Dreams, which is related obviously to this video. So if you enjoy that sort of thing, feel free to subscribe, feel free to like, no pressure as always, and let's get right into the video.
So initially, I hadn't planned on taking part in this event. I had just come back from vacation and I was looking up things and I saw in my email in the newsletter or something of that sort, maybe it was on Twitter. Well, I saw somewhere that this was going on and I decided, okay, maybe I'll try this out. Maybe I'll start in a couple days and give it a shot. But then as I thought more about it and as I thought about this week's video, I thought, well, a lot of other people are going to see this and really try to use this to get their creations out there and to get their name out there in the Dreams universe. So, well, I should try it and kind of give an idea of what the challenge is, whether or not it's worth it, and obviously just I need to try one of these challenges because I haven't even submitted anything for the others, although I have used them as prompts for other work that I've done. So I decided to modify something that I've been working on my own Halloween level, which I've been working on since June, if you've been watching. I take a long time to make things, but I decided to take a room from that and kind of modify it slightly to fit this template that we were given for this challenge. Now, like I said, I'm not going to be going over a lot of rules, but I'll just kind of mention them as they go if they're relevant to what I'm talking about. So right here, you can see that I'm working on the windows, for example. I don't have windows in the original version of this, which is just a shed. Instead, I just have a shed with one light hanging down to be kind of creepy and eerie. But I decided to take some of the assets that I already had for this room and modify them to fit a window. And this wasn't the only time I did this. I ended up changing a bunch of different things and kind of taking the log cabin that I had built that this room was originally part of and modifying them to fit this aesthetic and these dimensions to make sure that they made sense when I would submit them as my own room. But I actually hadn't planned on using this room originally. I had a room that immediately came to mind when I was starting to plan for this challenge that was in the same level, but it was the mansion room if you've seen the other videos. And basically this room, you walk around and you realize that there's some big feet trying to step on you. And so your objective is to get on top of the tables and turn the lights on to open the next door. And I haven't fully finished that yet, so I was like, oh, this will be a great excuse to finish it. But instead, I ended up going with this room because it was far more square and had a lot less logic. And I think that ended up being a really good idea because even the minimal amount of logic and things that are in this room and that I had planned for this, like the change of windows, ended up not being allowed by the rules. And so it was nice because I didn't have a whole lot of things to change since this was a pretty simple, all-encompassing room. Like, it didn't really need to link to anything outside of it for it to be an interesting piece. But instead of being able to just copy it over and paste it, I had to change quite a bit. And so, like I said, those windows were one thing, and I ended up having to even change them further because they don't want you changing the outside aesthetic of the room either, which was a little bit weird, but it also made it kind of fun because I had to make the roof, I had to make the walls, and I had to make the ground all fit within this one room. And the good news is I could kind of change the size of things, but I couldn't change it too much because the character that they're using, which I didn't even realize till I looked up during the final part, but the character that they're using is just the simple sliding puppet. And so that's pretty much what this character is based on right here. I always forget his name. I feel like it's Ronald or something. Well, he's another one of Media Molecule characters, so luckily I didn't have to change a lot of the sizes of things to make it fit in here. And because it wasn't fully fitting the dimensions of the entire room, I was actually able to put it in the center and kind of leave space for the walls and leave space for the windows and everything else that I wanted to add. So, all in all, I think I ended up with something that is even better than the original. And initially, I was really concerned because I figured I'd have to remove a bunch of stuff. But because of the reasons I mentioned, because it wasn't logically intense, and because a lot of the assets are honestly pretty simple, I did have to edit the sculpture detail of a few of them, which I'll talk about in a second. But it really wasn't that tough to make it physically fit in this section. And so I think that there's two types of people that would try to do something like this. One type is like me, to pull something that you've already made and kind of play off of that, or in essence, modify it to exactly fit within the confines of this challenge. And I think that for a lot of the challenges that are within Dreams, like, that's a great idea. And especially it's good because the alternate and the other group of people is trying to make something from scratch to fit exactly that room. And there's a huge benefit to that because, as opposed to just trying to make something fit where it wasn't originally meant to fit, you can work within the confines of this thing that you've been given, in this case the room, or in the other challenges case, their specific genres and plans and prompts. And it's really good to work within those because it forces you to be creative and figure out how you're going to make your vision that initially pops into your mind or that you plan for work with this, and more importantly, benefit from it in a lot of ways. For example, the windows here are a very big revelation to me because mostly I do indoor places, and so to have windows and to not really have to worry about lighting too much was actually really nice and made me want to do this more. But it does always, of course, require making windows, so there's that. But the two types of people that would make this, like I said, the one that will modify it, the other people that will make something completely for this, I think both are totally fine. Obviously, I went the modification route, and I think I did enough changes from this to make it the same room and the same challenge, but distinctly to fit this area. And even adding a few more things really helped me personally, because then I was able to take those things, like these windows, and move them into my own level, which was not something I'd ever planned to do on initially. It also was really good because it forced me to kind of play around and play test my own level a little bit to make sure it made sense. And in the end, it honestly felt a little bit cramped within their kind of constraints. And so I tried to fix that as much as possible, but that's not something that so much I can fix, or that I really planned to fix for this, because it's more of just a showcase of a simple platforming segment that I made. It's not meant to be perfect, and it does fit a little bit better in my own level, but it kind of forced me to focus on those things even more and realize that even in my own level, there are some issues. Like, I haven't put sufficient lighting inside yet, even with the windows. Like, a lot of the gate parts were kind of conflicting with each other and glitching a little bit. Like the ghost, that character that I created, which, what did I name? Ghostiver? Oh, I had a great name for him. Oh, Gustavo, that's what it was. And I was about to pause there and stop recording, but I remembered it, and that was thanks to my lovely boyfriend for that name. He's very creative with that sort of thing. But for this one, I decided to kind of make him a little bit bigger, Gustavo that is, to make sure that it's easier to jump on him and harder to miss, and so you can just kind of walk onto the ghost who then carries you to the upper platform. And that's not something that I initially planned on, because I'd been playtesting it so much that as this original character, I could easily make that jump every single time, whereas when I started testing with the sliding puppet, I realized that that was kind of silly and that it was a little bit obnoxiously difficult for no reason, because it's not supposed to be a tough jump anyways. But it was definitely an experience. Now, I want to kind of move on to the analysis of this event in general as opposed to just my experience, because you can see what's going on in the background. You see what I did, and you see all the issues that I ran into. But one of the biggest ones that I ran into was honestly the windows. I don't understand why they didn't let you move the windows around to kind of give you a bigger aesthetic, especially when they gave 3 different templates for the way that the room could be oriented. But at the same time, I understand that there's certain parts they needed to keep the same to link them together, and this is something that you won't really run into with other challenges because they're not direct templates. And that's what was really unique about this, was it really forced you to work within those confines, like I mentioned before. And that's something that I would love to see again. I would absolutely love to see another thing like this, where they plan these different connectable pieces to end up creating a world, or a haunted house in this case, that is cohesive but is made by a bunch of different creators. Now, I want to talk a little bit about something that might be stifled here, and that's the fact that this is just one room, and the theme is haunted house, not just Halloween. And so, while you could make anything in here, you could turn it into a greenhouse, you could turn it into just about whatever you wanted, there was no way to make some sort of outdoor scene here, which is something that I, like I said before, don't do a lot. I spend a lot of time making indoor stuff without really worrying about the outdoor scenes, and so within my most recent level, my most recent 2 games, honestly, in Dreams, I have been focusing more on that, and I would have liked to explore that a little bit here, or at least been given that option. When you do limit somebody to these specific rooms, you're going to lose some sort of audience there, and you're going to be giving them less options, which, like I said earlier, can be good to sort of spark your creativity and force you to be extra creative to work within those confines. But it's not perfect, and I think that here they did a great job of it, but there's a few things that maybe they could have changed up a little bit to make it, to give people more options within the confines that they were given. That being said, I still had a great time doing it. It was very stressful because I wanted to finish it as early as possible. If you feel like you work best in spurts or in like short periods of crunch time, I think one of these could really help you get a lot done and really learn a lot, especially if you're new at the game, because this isn't something where you're trying to win. This is just something where you're trying to create something to be included in this greater project. And I think that that's probably the coolest thing that it does. As opposed to making it a competition, as opposed to making it super tough and specific, minus the restraints that you're given, obviously, you're allowed to play around. You're allowed to create something that might not be perfect, and just be challenged by the sense that you have to create something within the span of a month. And I think that if you're looking for something like that, if you're looking for that push to really get something done, even something as small as this, I think that's a very, very good reason to do this challenge. If you're looking to get your creations out there, I think it kind of depends on how they cover people actually doing this. Like if they always show their names in the room, I think that'll be great. But in the end, it's probably going to be tough to find people to like talk to about their levels through this, just because it's done through the online submission as opposed to the in-game submission where you see people voting and you see people talking about different creations, like you do with the other Dreams challenges. But like I said, I did enjoy this. I think there was a little bit of difficulty with making things fit, but if you are interested in this channel, in this sort of challenge, I totally recommend that you give it a shot. Maybe it would be best to start a challenge if you've never done one before and not really plan to release it, but just to test it out, because I feel like the stress from creating something like this in such a short period of time kind of conflicts with what Dreams is really good at, and that's like the enjoyment that comes out of creating at a leisurely pace, which is honestly something that a lot of people don't really get to the point of experiencing because it's pretty high learning curve. But I would definitely recommend to use this as a prompt to try it out. But don't beat yourself up if you don't finish it, because especially if you're creating something from scratch, it's a short time limit. I mean, 3 weeks, like I can't even finish a league challenge in that time, and a league challenge is only 80 games, so it's pretty crazy, especially when you're trying to come up with something creative at the same time. You gotta plan, you gotta make, you gotta go through everything. It's a pain. But
yeah, so that's my thoughts on the whole event. I think it's a great event. I'm very happy that they're doing it. I think there's a few things they could have done better, but all in all, it was a fun challenge for me. I'm not sure if I would do it again or every time, especially the way that I did it, because it seemed like I was working pretty hard to fit everything within the confines of this room. But in this way, I feel like it's a really good way to showcase a lot of different people's creations, and so that's sort of how I took it as a prompt. But let me know what you guys think. It also very much helped me in general with this level that I was creating that used this piece, and I ended up keeping a lot of the changes I made. So I suppose in the end it was very useful to me. But if you've done the challenge, let me know what you thought in the comments down below. If you want to go do the challenge now, I will obviously link it in the description. But regardless, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. But for now, goodbye!